getting out of this.
Help, I'm pushing up.
Rotate.
Bruno, they're rotating back. They're rotating back.
They're gonna go. Just rotate, guys. Just rotate. Give it up. Just give it up.
Right.
Nice. Rotate.
Greetings and welcome to episode number 12. Hit it with a 1-2-1-2 of the rotation with Z-Hack. The CDL is back, baby. Stage 3 is here. We got off to a hot and heavy start with the London Royal Ravens home series. We're going to break all that down and much more on today's episode of the rotation. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Wherever you are, whatever platform it may be, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you know those are all the ones that you can share with your friends, family, and Call of Duty League fans alike to get all the information from myself. And let me know on Twitter at ZHack16 what you want to see on the show, questions, comments, who you want to see me go out and get to interview, all that good stuff, because I'm here to listen to you guys, and we're going to grow as a community, make this podcast better. And what else are we going to do? It's what we do every single week. We talk Call of Duty because we love it. Now we got to hop straight into First Blood as per usual, and this is going to be a different take. It's not going to be about anything that happened last weekend or looking forward to this weekend, anything crazy with the development of the game and the meta shift or things of that nature. But this is just a thought that's popped into my head as I see things going left and right in the sports world, and I'm watching baseball, and the NFL draft is just about to be underway here. In just a couple of hours, actually. It's Thursday right now. As I'm recording this, we have week 2 of stage 3 in the Call of Duty League. But my first blood take is I want to see the growth of not only Call of Duty, but esports in general. But because this is a Call of Duty League specific podcast, that's what we're going to talk about. But I want to see the growth of gambling and games surrounding the Call of Duty League and esports. Now, you may be wondering what sparked this topic in my mind, and I live in Arizona, for those of you who do not know, and it looks like in the past, from what you all don't know, when you're online playing wagers, competing in one-and-dones, and winning tournaments online, that's technically illegal in Arizona. In Arizona, you can't compete and do stuff like that because it's online gambling, and all the casinos out here and the reservations, they own all the rights to gambling. There's a tribal law put in place. So we can't do DraftKings. We can't do online daily fantasy. We cannot legally do anything like that and gain income from betting. As I was mentioning, though, in Arizona, it looks like there was something that is in the process of being passed or something that is being signed, the gaming bill in Arizona, where what's going on is basically that there's a conjunction and a partnership now between the state of Arizona and the casinos to allow a compact associated legislation that will expand and legalize gambling, including sports betting for once and for all in the state of Arizona. With this being said, I want to see esports, not only in Arizona. So how this is going to break down, we have our teams here. We have the Phoenix Suns, the Coyotes for hockey, the Cardinals, and the Diamondbacks are our 4 major sports teams. What's going to happen is gambling and sports betting on these games will be implemented in all of the arenas and stadiums in person, and as well as this in the sports betting room at the casinos. You'll be able to lay down bets, sports bet legally, and have that happen in the state of Arizona now. So that's a big step for us in the state of Arizona. But then it got me to thinking, well, sports are big there. Why not esports? Now, I know overseas with midnight.gg, all you guys in Europe, you're doing a lot of esports betting online, and you're making things work there. But in the States, there's not really an online betting site in the United States. And the same thing along with this, whether it just be betting on matches, like, ooh, Paris is playing Empire today. I think Empire are going to 3-0 them easy. I'm laying down $100 on that. Let's see what's going to happen. Instead of just that, Americans, we love fantasy sports. We play fantasy football. We play fantasy baseball. We play fantasy basketball, soccer. We pick our teams. We choose golfers every week to win. And I know that they're doing good things over on Draft Buff, but I think that there's such a massive market for fantasy esports. I know we have the groundwork set out, but it just hasn't taken off yet and hasn't been overpopulated with fantasy esports. I mean, think about it. In football, every year you get your 12-man league, your 10-man league, you do your snake draft, whatever. First pick, I'm taking Alvin Kamara, then you take Dalvin Cook, then this guy comes out of left field, takes a wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all these guys. We go through the draft, we put together our roster with a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a flex, a tight end, kicker, and defense if your league plays that, and then you match up against everyone else in your league from week to week, whoever scores the most points that are accumulated between touchdowns, yards, receptions, all that good stuff. You win the week, go on to the playoffs, and you win your league, and we bet on that. We make money on that. I know we're trying here in esports, especially Call of Duty, and Draft Buff is doing so good, but I think we just need to market it and get a larger crowd. And with stuff like this happening in Arizona, where sports betting is legalized, let's get esports in the mix. When I go to the casino, I want to see a line for Optic versus NYSL or FaZe. And I want them to have that on the TV in the sportsbook room, along with the Chiefs playing the Patriots in the AFC Championship or something like that. How cool would that be if we were able to get esports betting and gambling and fantasy sports and gaming? Because it doesn't always have to be for money. It doesn't have to be for risk. There are kids out there who, are 10, 11, 12, 13 who are fans of the Call of Duty League. And how fun would it be to give them something to cheer for? That is the biggest thing that I have noticed in my life with fantasy sports. For example, in the NFL, I could have a player on a team I don't care about whatsoever. I could have James Robinson as my running back, and I don't give a damn about the Jacksonville Jaguars. But you better believe I'm invested in their game this weekend, because if he goes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, I'm off to a great start in my week. You know how much viewership would increase in the Call of Duty League if fantasy esports in the CDL specifically became prominent? If you have someone who drafted Chino this past week, oh, baby, come on, LAG, let's go. Chino drops like a 1.36 on the weekend. You have a huge week. You're invested in all the games, because I know there's the meme from the fans and the chat in YouTube when Call of Duty League matches are going. They're like, ooh, Optic, there's 90,000 people watching. And then whenever any other match goes on, people are so toxic, and they say something like, no Optic, no views, only 20,000 people watching the Call of Duty League. If fantasy CDL became huge and prominent and people were invested in it week to week, I don't think you would have as much problems with viewership, because there would be casual fans, competitive players, and then the middle ground with gamblers and sports bettors and people who transfer into esports betting who have a fantasy team, and every match is going to matter because there's a possibility that they have a player in play every single match, and they need a big game from them. They need a lot of kills, a lot of OBJ time, and a high KD for their team to succeed. I think that esports betting and CDL in specific with fantasy and being able to gamble on matches, getting that into casinos in Vegas, sportsbooks in Arizona, and all around the world would be absolutely huge, not only for the product of the Call of Duty League, the viewership, but the enjoyment of fans in general. To stem off of that, I think there's a lot of trial and error period with how we can make that better and the best possible, because you have to figure out how to do scoring in fantasy. Do you get 1 point per kill and you lose a point for a death? If you get a positive KD in a match, you get 5 points. If you get 2 points per kill, if your guy, goes on a streak, you get bonus points. If the team wins the match, you get bonus points. There's so many different variables in OBJ, because that could cause you to draft somebody who plays the objective. Example in Search and Destroy, back in the day for Optic when Karma was still playing, I know he's taking the bomb pretty much every round, so I'm going to take him not only for his success on the map with kills, but also if he gets 3 plants down and each plant is worth, 2 to 5 points or whatever every round, I'm going to draft somebody who's a big OBJ player. So there's a lot of stuff to mess around with and play with the scoring when we get fantasy up and running bigger and bigger. But I think that Draft Buff is doing an incredible job right now in the Call of Duty League, because I've drafted a team just for fun. I start them every week to see how it goes. But I think we can make it bigger and better and get more fans invested in it. And Call of Duty League, ding, 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 ding. Get a partnership with these guys and you spearhead all this. That way you get some of the money, you get some of the success. You're also getting the viewers and you're marketing it to fans. When you have those ads for World of Warcraft and Dragons, as everyone likes to say in the Call of Duty League draft or in the chat, have an advertisement for fantasy. How easy is that? DraftKings is getting involved with big streamers. Nick Merckx, Tim the Tapman, Dr. Disrespect, they're all getting partnerships with DraftKings. Imagine if the Call of Duty League got a partnership with DraftKings, worked on a fantasy, daily fantasy, year-long fantasy, and also betting and gambling, game-to-game, match-to-match, and we had a commercial for that. Oh my gosh, viewership would skyrocket. It would be fun for the fans to be able to bet, have a fantasy league with all their homies every week in the Call of Duty League. In my mind, you can't compete with it. There's nothing better for the Call of Duty League to do than to start allowing gambling on matches in the United States, not just making it European sites offline, but in the United States, being able to advocate for esports to these large casinos in Vegas, in Arizona, all around the world, and implement their esport into the casinos on the sports book so people can bet when they're going on vacation there, if they live there, and be able to have it accessible and bet on esports Call of Duty League matches online. I mean, I think it's a brilliant idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I don't know why we haven't done it yet, so I'm excited to see the future, and hopefully we get esports betting and fantasy in the near future. That is my first blood take. Now it's time to delve into more of the rotation with Z-Hack, and let's get it started with the Barracks news and notes from around the Call of Duty League. There's a lot to talk about today in the Barracks news and notes from around the league. And there's just, a plethora of topics that I have decided to go about. I haven't ranked them in any particular order of what's most important, what's not most important. So I'm going to continue talking about the Call of Duty League because we just got off the topic of gambling. And I want to talk about the format of what we have seen so far this year and what I would like to see going forward. You've heard players around the Call of Duty League, like Scumpy is one of the most ones in particular on the Optic podcast, who has not complained about this, but voiced his opinion, and I have been one to say it before he came out and said anything, and I think that this is something that truly is important for the Call of Duty League to take a look at and see if we can make something different happen. What I'm talking about in particular is the format that we're working with in the CDL right now. It is really, really hard, plain and simple, as a fan, as a viewer, as someone casual, even if it's your first time around watching Call of Duty on a competitive scale, you may get turned off by this format. The way we had it back in the day, I think, was the best ever, but now with franchising, with a limited amount of teams, only 12, I think this format could change when expansion happens, when we get to 16 teams, but for now, we're kind of stuck with this, but I don't think we really should be. I think there's a couple things that we can do to change this up. It's pretty simple in my opinion. What I'm talking about is the amount of matches. Not only on the weekend alone, but for the viewers, what we get to see. You look here on the left side of the screen. This is this past weekend in the London Royal Ravens home series from the 22nd to the 25th to open stage 3. We get 2 matches on Thursday and 2 matches on Friday. That's really hard to get into as a fan, especially when those matches look like these two right here. Dallas Empire 3-1 the Paris Legion, and then the Florida Mutineers tasted a hot 3-0 by the defending Stage 2 champion Toronto Ultra. What happens when this occurs is the quickest day of Call of Duty possible. When you get a 3-0 and a 3-0, a 3-1 and a 3-0, whatever it may be, you're only playing 2 matches. It feels like we start the broadcast, they play bam, bam, and then the day is over. That's hard not only for the fans to get invested in, but this format is difficult for the players on a scale as well. because they have to be at their very best on this particular day. I know you can compare it to traditional sports and you say, yeah, but the NFL, they only play one game a day. They have to have their best. Competitive esports and Call of Duty is a little bit different when you're talking about a weekend of matches to crown a champion in the past, but now just fight for seeding in the present. What I mean by this, previously the format, we all know how it was in the Call of Duty World League days and even MLG tournaments. We would arrive to the venue on a Thursday. Open bracket matches would get underway because we would have seeding and there would be pool play. There would be 4 pools with 3 teams in it to begin, and then teams from the open bracket, the top 4 would qualify and fill out, so we would have 16 teams in pool play. Everyone would play each other once, get through it, then we would get seeded and go into elimination matches, and then that's when things got crazy on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. With the losers bracket runs, with the winners bracket battles to get to that finale, teams would be playing multiple matches on any given day, and they were able to find a momentum, get into a groove, and grind. If you look here at this previous weekend, no one is playing multiple matches on the same day. And it barely even happens. It happened with Toronto when the losers bracket run they made in the Stage 2 Major to be able to win it. They played 3 matches on that final day. They took down the Dallas Empire, the Minnesota Rocker, and then the Atlanta FaZe. That's the most matches we've seen a team play, and we saw how hot they were able to get because they were able to be consistent, get warmed up, and do it. Teams don't have the opportunity to do that in this current format. If they come out flat, they're screwed, plain and simple. Right here, Paris Legion, Florida Mutineers came out flat, didn't play their best. They got smoked. They don't get an opportunity to go and play multiple matches in a day like in pool play. On Thursdays, you would play 2 matches. One against a couple teams in the bracket, and then you would take that third team from the open bracket match on Friday, and then we'd go through an entire run, play multiple matches, and we'd be playing Call of Duty for 12 hours on Saturday and Sunday. I miss it, but I don't think that we're going to be able to achieve that and get back into it until we have expansion, and then we might be able to adopt that sort of format where we have 4 different pools battle there and have that sort of setting per match. What I think the biggest solution would be right now to keep the fans invested, it's plain and simple, delete Thursday. You have 1 extra match if you take out Thursday to put onto Friday. We play 2 on Thursday right now. The day can last like an hour or 2. I know we do a lot of stuff on the broadcast, which works it to typically be like 3 hours of showtime if it's the quickest possible. But there's a lot of in-between and talk and analysis that goes on there instead of just content and matches for the fans to watch. So what you do, you take out both these matches on Thursday and you play them on Friday. Then you have 2 extra matches. So you get 4 matches on Friday or 3 on Friday, depending on how you want to spread it out. So then we play these 4 matches on Friday, which is huge and what everyone wants to see. Then you have 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. You're guaranteed a large amount of Call of Duty. Hopefully you get a couple good matches to keep the fans invested. And everyone's happy. I know the broadcast team may not be happy because I've experienced these long days. Broadcasting doubleheaders when I've had a men's basketball game and a women's basketball game, or a soccer game, then a volleyball match at night. I know the broadcast crew, they get worked up. Like, they are invested for 12 to 14 hours a day because these matches, yeah, they start at that particular time, but the broadcast crew, they're going all day long to put on a show. So I know there may be complaints there, and logistically it may be hard to make it happen, but I think you can. Just limit it to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get as many matches as possible on each given day, and it doesn't feel like the weekend's being dragged out. The players don't feel like the weekend's being dragged out. They're able to scrim everyone sooner and quicker all the way up till Thursday, not just waiting on teams to have matches on their given day and then being able to scrim. And then we get abundance of Call of Duty for everyone to indulge in. I think up until we see expansion and we can do pools again, this is the best format to play. I would also eventually like to see teams getting to play multiple matches a day, not just in the majors, because then teams are able to get hot. They warm up, they play one match, they play a second match later on in that day. That's how Call of Duty used to be, and that's when everybody's at their best. On top of this, kind of transitioning into another topic, but wrapping back into this one, it'll help when we get LAN back. Because I think if we get LAN back when players and teams are going to compete, it will assist in changing the format a little bit. Because guys are going to be like, yo, I don't want to just walk to the venue for 40 minutes, play my match, and then go home. Like, I want to be able to hang around, watch matches, play multiple matches in a day, and be in that environment of LAN. I think that's something that players are looking out for, and it's something that's important for us to find. I think LAN will assist getting that format back, having players be on the venue playing multiple matches. And I've said it time and time again, I really don't know if we'll see fans this year at all, maybe in stage 4, 5, or champs. But for the time being, as long as we can get LAN for the players and have them just competing there, it'll be great. But when we get that, let's have multiple matches on any given day. I think that's extremely important to have happen, and it's something I want to see in the near future. Give me your thoughts on Twitter at ZHack16. What do you think about the current format of Call of Duty League matches? If you don't like it, how do you think they can improve it with stuff like I've said, with cutting out Thursday, just playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And on top of that, if you do like the current format, tell me why. Make your case, state your argument. Now that I've touched on the format, what I want to see changed, and, getting LAN back and how that will help the format and also get more matches in a day, it's time to talk about the previous matches and what we saw this past weekend in the Call of Duty League. Stage 3, Week 1 hit us hard, and I want to talk about those roster changes right out of the gate because we saw a few things happen, and there were 2 up and 2 down, in my opinion. We all know coming into this past weekend, the roster changes that were present and prominent in the Call of Duty League. It was Havoc for Florida, replacing Slacked. Zaptius on London, and they've had multiple more changes as Zero is now gone. They've lost a coach. So the London Royal Ravens, they're just in a world of hurt, in my opinion. Things are not going their way. Other than that, you saw Chino and then Hydra, the rookie, come in. My reaction to these roster changes is what I just said, 2 up and 2 down. There were 2 roster changes that panned out and were great initially, and then 2 that were not so good. First off, I want to start with the weekend of the Florida Mutineers and what they did precisely. And it was, a 1-1 weekend for them. They dropped a match. They got absolutely smoked by the Toronto Ultra in a hot 3-0. And then they were able to beat the Minnesota Rocker in a stunning fashion, in my opinion, and win that matchup 3-1. The eyes were on Havoc in both these series, and he still has some work to do. I know I talked about it earlier in the year when he was starting. When he was scrimming, it was him, Slacked, and then Skies and Awakening. So he hasn't played a lot with Neptune, but these 2 matches, that's my cutoff for Havoc. Those 2 matches were the grace period where you were able to have a little bit of scrimming between the Stage 2 Major and beginning of Stage 3 to get your feet wet with this team, and then you played Toronto and Minnesota. Havoc hovered around a 0.8 KD in both these matches, had the lowest damage in the series against the Minnesota Rocker. He was making plays around the objective, but I think if Florida want to be successful and continue to win, he needs to step up his game even more. I think he's had the opportunity to learn how these guys play together, and with these upcoming matches this weekend, we'll see what happens with Havoc. In the series against Minnesota, it was a big, big carry from the man Big Wake and Skies. They had a 1.26 and a 1.23 respectively. Big Wake was dropping almost 20k damage on this series, and he's the difference maker. He's the MVP of this team. He's the guy who everyone has all eyes on every single match. And in a series like this, when Havoc did underperform to his standards and expectations, it's a guy like Awakening who can pick up the slack and win the series for you. It was a big 3-1 for the Florida Mutineers. And looking forward into the weekend, I'll talk about the matches as we see the schedule more and more. But all eyes are going to be on Havoc in what he can do this upcoming weekend, Thursday through Sunday, to prove himself and prove why he's on the roster, why he replaced Slacked. We won't see the Florida Mutineers play a match until Sunday, and it's against the Paris Legion. I don't think there's anything better for Havoc to have happen than playing a team like the Legion who are struggling right now. The second roster change that we have to talk about that occurred was Zaptius of the London Royal Ravens. Getting a rookie in the league, 2 on the team now with Zaptius and Paul X. They've played together in the challenger scene. The expectations were there. I don't think it was going to be anything incredible. And it was a hard debut for Zaptius. You go against Optic Chicago, you get beat 3-1, and the same thing against another team who's been streaking hot in the LA Thieves, and the same result, a 3-1. I don't think Zaptius looked bad by any stretch of the imagination. There are minor things that he'll work out, little kinks with the team that he'll be able to improve upon, an individual performance that he'll be able to increase his value for the team. So I'm not too worried about him. And they have, a matchup coming up this weekend where it'll be an opportunity for him to prove himself, and it's going to be right off the bat, and it's a tough one. Yeah, it's the New York Subliners. The London Royal Ravens play Subliners in phase, so I don't know if it'll be the biggest improvement for Zaptius in those 2 matches because they're just such stiff competition both times around. But it gives him a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's an opportunity for him to prove himself. I think the London Royal Ravens will stick with this roster for a little bit longer, give these guys a chance to work, but they have a lot up and coming and in their way. Next up, and possibly the winner of the weekend, it's MJ Cheen. My God, was I happy to see Chino get back in the Call of Duty League, and anybody who doubted him, holy smokes. Woo! You were proven wrong because Chino was absolutely frying this past weekend. The LA Gorillas played the Paris Legion, and Chino, he was the man of the hour. He had a 1.36 KD overall in the series and went positive 19. In the first hardpoint on Moscow, he had a 1.21 going 23 and 19. Then he fried in the search and destroy on Moscow again, 10 and 4, absolutely smoking Paris, and that led to a 6-2 victory. And then it was a tight one in control. This one went the distance, all 5 rounds, and guess who was there to make the difference? He fried everyone, almost dropped a 40 bomb, 39 and 30 is how Chino put a stamp on this series and ended it with 8,066 damage for LAG. Chino may have been the best pickup for any team so far this season. He came out early, made a big difference for the LA Gorillas, and I think he will continue to do so. As we look in the matches going forward, and I will make my predictions here shortly, I think that he'll have an opportunity to make a difference against Toronto. I think Toronto will still take that series, but then the big one is Dallas Empire, who are struggling to find their groove, picking up fellow. The roster change has made them kind of bounce down to a lower tier team than where they've been with Hugh, in my opinion. And this could be an opening for the LA Gorillas to make something happen, especially the way that Chino is performing. I talked about it last week. He makes such a difference with his IQ, his shot calls, and the way he can kind of control and settle down a team working with Silly, Assault, and Apathy. These guys are all veterans. Chino is one of the huge winners of the weekend based on the roster changes, and you already know who I think the biggest winner was. There was a lot to prove for the rookie for the New York Subliners, and Hydra did exactly that in a couple of statement series, the biggest one against the Atlanta FaZe. I mean, it was monumental what the kid did, and pardon me, this was the only series that the New York Subliners had this week. I was getting confused for this new weekend, where they'll have 2. But this past weekend, he made a huge difference, and they knocked off one of the top dogs in the Call of Duty League. NYSL went the distance against the Atlanta FaZe and won 3-2, and Hydra was big in the series. He had a 1.09 and the nerves didn't get to him. You're going against some of the best in the league with Simp, Celium, Abizi, and Arcides on the other side. But I mean, this new roster for NYSL, it looks good. Clay, Hydra, Mac, and a Sim. I mean, Diamond Con was the odd man out, and I had to feel for him because he was performing well, another rookie on the season. But then Hydra swoops in, and he makes an even bigger difference. As Atlanta FaZe have been the kryptonite and crutch for NYSL this year, Hydra was able to get it done. NYSL come out huge and win the opening hardpoint on Gary, 250 to 211, and who's the man to make the difference? 31 and 24 with a 1.29 KD. Hydra popped off. Him and Clay combined for 64 kills and just 45 deaths on the map. And close to like 12k damage, 11, 12k. Those two got started early on the search and destroy. They faltered a little bit as they dropped maps 2 and 3, and that was one where Hydra kind of fell short on the Express S&D. He went 3 and 7. But then what's he do? He responds and plays well in the control despite them losing. What do you not expect to happen to Atlanta FaZe? Lose 2 hard points in a series. They do exactly that. Apocalypse went down to the wire. It was crazy. It was exciting. And NYSL took it 250 to 241. And Hydra, he was the best on the map. 22 and 18 to pick up the big win there. And then we went round 11 on raid. And the search and destroy, it's the one spot where Hydra can pick it up. He was stellar in respawns on the weekend. Just 5 and 6 on the raid S&D. And like I said, he struggled on Express. He really is a difference maker in the respawns for NYSL. If he can improve himself in search and destroy, NYSL may be giving everyone a run for their money. They could be battling Optic, Toronto, and they've already beaten FaZe. Hydra won the weekend with his performance, and I think he'll continue to show up and be strong as the weeks progress in the Call of Duty League. So I talk about that there. Those are the roster changes and my final take on it. Havoc, this is his final week to improve. He's already had his grace period. It's now or never for Havoc. As for Zaptius, I think he has a little more leeway because he's a rookie. The London Royal Ravens are just blowing up over there, on fire, making changes left and right. They've had the most in the Call of Duty League this season, dropping coaches, dropping players, picking up guys from challengers. So give this roster a little time to work it out. Chino and Hydra, they've made the biggest difference in the Call of Duty League, in my opinion. These two rookies have came out strong and popped on. They're up there with what Neptune has done on the Florida Mutineers. As I talk about those guys, it's time to progress and advance to the Paris Legion home series. I went over some of the big matches there from what happened this past weekend. So I'm going to go into predictions. And if you guys like, I can give you hot takes real quick on what happened this past weekend. I already talked about a few of these matches. Empire looked good here, and then they faltered and got smoked on Sunday by what I think is the best team in the Call of Duty League right now. The Toronto Ultra have their target on their back, but they've proven themselves. They've smoked everyone. The Seattle Surge still really interesting to me. I think they can win a lot of these tight series, but it's just been minute mistakes who have cost them. Optic are looking like maybe top 2, top 3 team in the stage right now, and they showed up against the Royal Ravens in Seattle to put a statement out, only dropped one map on the weekend. Then LAG, I talked about it with Chino. They look good. The Minnesota Rocker, that surprised me that they dropped so hard to Florida. Florida had a big 3 carry them in that series. In Minnesota, no one really showed up for them. LA Thieves, they did it. They came out strong. They won 2 matches. In the Atlanta FaZe, they need to respond this weekend after falling to the New York Subliners. That's kind of a quick take there because I want to get you guys in and out of here. Don't want to keep you for too long. So let's go through my predictions for this upcoming weekend in the Paris Legion home series, baby. A lot more Call of Duty to be played as I take a vigorous swig of my coffee. Just black espresso and a little bit of sugar, folks. I mean, it's got me wired. It's got me enjoying Call of Duty. So let's get into it. The New York Subliners are so damn good, and the London Royal Ravens are struggling so damn bad. I expect Hydra to pop off yet again. I don't see New York dropping anything on this opening Thursday. Hot 3-0 over the London Royal Ravens. After this, I think that Atlanta FaZe have shown signs of struggle, and I think the LA Thieves are enjoying their roster changes with Draza, Kenny, TJ. Those three have shown up big. We know that Temp is all the way over in Paris now, no longer on that roster. And I mean, those three guys that I just mentioned, they're the big difference makers for the LA Thieves. When you look at the series that they've had previously this past weekend, as we give a quick shout out to breakingpoint.gg, those guys are doing great work over there, getting the stats up as quick as possible. But I mean, the final series for them against the London Royal Ravens, the rookie has shown up. I mean, Venom has made a difference, and Kenny is in a role that you expect him to be in. I've talked about it time and time again with the LA Thieves. Kenny is the one you want to build the team around. He's the best player talent-wise on the Thieves, in my opinion. So I think they have a tight series against the Atlanta FaZe. I think it does go the distance because Atlanta have been struggling. They drop a couple of the respawns. That's where LA Thieves can excel. And especially with teams expanding their map pool and what they're good on and knowing what other teams struggle with, I mean, the veto process is so important nowadays. I think that's where Atlanta FaZe have been and can be beaten, and that's what LA Thieves will have to focus on. Get Atlanta FaZe on Apocalypse and Hardpoint. Even though Simp and Abizi like to run and gun there, that's where NYSL beat them. Test them there as well. Let your subs run and gun, get Venom and Tej flying around the map, and have Kenny and Draza do work. I think Atlanta ultimately pull off this series, and it could be exciting 3-2. We head over to Friday. I mentioned it, Toronto Ultra. They're the best team in the league. LAG, they've shown great signs of hope here. I think they'll be able to pick up a map, maybe even two, because they've looked good in S&D, and I think Chino adds a lot to this team in that department. I think Toronto are still just too good, but LAG may be able to do something. I could see this one going 3-1, 3-2, but I'll take Ultra to win the Battle of the Purple teams in 4 maps. This next one, I'm interested to see kind of what goes on here. The Minnesota Rocker, they struggled last week. They dropped very handedly to the Florida Mutineers, which was quite confusing to me. So I think this one will be a tight matchup because Paris Legion have a lot to prove here. Temp wants to come out firing. Scraps is trying to pop off as well, and I think those two are the ones to highlight for Paris. I think Minnesota will excel in the search and destroy category as they get back there. And for now, I'm taking them 3-2 in the series. Next, I think on Saturday, the signs of struggle just continue for the London Royal Ravens, and I think Atlanta FaZe will handle them. After a tight match on Thursday, I think it will be a quick 3-0 on Saturday. Atlanta FaZe will get back on track, win 2 this weekend, and keep climbing and stay on top of the standings in the Call of Duty League. Following this, the Dallas Empire, I mean, there's just question marks. These matches would be a lot easier to predict if we were on land because there can be differences seen based on the server they get. But, I mean, I think LAG have a lot of fight in them. The Gorillas are resilient, and I think they're inspired with a fresh new roster change. They want to win, they want to be on top, and they want to get that winner's bracket seed in the Stage 3 Major. I think they can shock the world this weekend, and I think they can wreak some havoc on the Dallas Empire. I can see it going 5, and I can see the LA Gorillas taking it. Next, in your marquee matchup of the weekend, the Seattle Surge, they're just such a confusing team for me because they're so good, but they're just not closing out wins in tight matchups. I think they are a good team. I think they can force NYSL 5 maps depending on the vetoes, but I don't see them getting it done. Hydra is just too much of the difference maker now, and I see NYSL being top dogs there. Finally, on Sunday, I think this is a good spot for Havoc to get his footing with the Florida Mutineers, and I think that they get it done against Paris, and they win 3-1. Toronto Ultra, they'll go on to take on the Minnesota Rocker. They did it in the Stage 3 Major. And I think this will be a tight series this time around, but I think the Ultra continue to stay perfect in this stage, and they beat the Minnesota Rocker 3-2. Finally, we couldn't ask for a better end to the Stage 3 second weekend. The storylines between Nadeshot, Hex, Optic, we recycle them time and time again. It'll be a good match. It'll be hard fought. It'll be tight. I could see it going 5, but right now I see Optic taking it in 4. Make sure you guys get in the Call of Duty League pick'em. I'm looking good on the leaderboards, man. 21 points in Stage 3 after the first weekend. I'm sitting at 21, the leader's at 29. That puts me at 675 overall out of thousands and thousands. Okay? I'm happy with that. I'm excited where I sit. Make sure you join my leaderboard, The Rotation with Z-Hack, and the password is just rotation. Make sure you guys get in there. Right now I'm on top of our 4-man leaderboard. So let's keep rocking and rolling, get some new faces in there. Those are my predictions for the upcoming weekend, which starts just in a couple hours. It's Thursday as this is going live, baby. It's hot. It's heavy. There's more Call of Duty to be played. And I'm excited for the weekend to happen. One last thing we have to do before we get out of here, and you guys already know what it is. We predict, and then we get in to quite arguably the most important segment of the week, and one that I know everybody loves to see. And we need a little help from Scump to introduce it. Who's the best in the game? I already spoke about this when I talked about the roster changes and some of these new faces coming back into the Call of Duty League or in the Call of Duty League for the first time. Who's the best in the game? Based on the performance of Stage 3 Week 1, I got to give it to Hydra. There were so many question marks around him because NYSL had been so successful this season and he had expectations to live up to, and he was catching a lot of flack. Is this guy going to be any good? He's playing in EU Challengers. Is the competition as stiff? Will he show up? And let me tell you, hell yeah, Hydra did. He popped off and helped his team win a match against the Atlanta FaZe with a 1.09 on the weekend. He was huge in the respawns. He assisted NYSL in winning both hard points and clutching up in the Game 5 S&D. And I think this man has a bright future. The way that Hydra looks on the map, he's very composed. He has been taken under the wing of Clayster, and you couldn't ask to be in a better spot as a rookie in the Call of Duty League. I think he will grow up to be one of the staple names in the Call of Duty League for years to come, and he'll be one of the best of all time. I know it sounds like a hot take, but if he gets going on the content side of NYSL, shows his personality, and gets players to like him, fans to like him, and keeps performing like this, he's going to be around for a long, long time. Hydra has won the weekend. He is the best in the game, in my opinion. Looking forward to what the young man can do this upcoming weekend in the Call of Duty League as we enter the Paris Legion home series. And I am really excited to see what happens. NYSL looking to stay perfect here. They'll face the Royal Ravens on Thursday and then the Seattle Surge on Saturday. Make sure you tune in to all the matches this weekend. And thank you all for tuning into episode number 12 of The Rotation with Z-Hack. As always, it's been a great time talking with you. I've enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you all next time. Make sure you share the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts at ZHack16, and Zach Warhack, ZACHWORHACK on YouTube. And it's been a great time. And let's enjoy some more Call of Duty League action. This weekend, it's Stage 3, Week 2. Once again, thank you all for tuning in to The Rotation with Z-Hack, and we'll see you next time. Peace.